Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Shannon and I'm here from DirectHomeMedical to talk to you about using an adapter with your SoClean 2 and your AirSense machine. For this line of machines, we could be talking about the AirSense 10 or the AirCurve 10, as well as the AirStart 10. So any of those ResMed lines that have a water chamber that looks like this. Because to use with your SoClean, you're actually going to need to modify that adapter so that it cleans both your mask and tubing, as well as that humidifier chamber. So the reason we're making this video today is because we have a wonderful array of customers, and a lot of people call in about this particular adapter and making sure that they're connecting it and using it correctly with their machine. Because if you're like most people watching this video, you got your machine, which you invested a pretty decent amount of money in, and you wanted a really easy way to make sure that it was clean. And you heard about this SoClean device. So you invested in one of these, but to make sure it works properly, you have to get this adapter. So this really is just to try to make that journey a little bit easier for everyone. So here before me, I have the the AirSense 10, which is one of the auto adjusting machines. Any of the Air 10 lineups are going to look very, very similar to this though. I've also connected some heated tubing, the Climate Line Air in particular, and then I have a ResMed F20 mask. So your setup may be similar, it may be different, and today we're going to talk about a lot of the different setups people might have, just to make sure that you're using this appropriately. Over here, I've got my SoClean 2. I do have it all connected, and this is basically how it's going to arrive to you right out of the box. Inside here, you're going to have your filter. You're going to have a hose slot plug. Now you can decide which side to put it on based on how you're connecting your devices, but that piece is really easily movable. You have a little bit of pre-wash, neutralizing pre-wash. We're not really going to talk about that too much today. And then of course on the back here, you have your tubing. So this is where it starts to get interesting, because this is actually how you do that main connection to the specific machine, as opposed to just putting your mask and tubing inside of this chamber here. So let's start talking about that. What's been designed here for use with the AirStart is actually what's called a lid adapter. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you that lid adapter. This is what you would get. You'd get your SoClean and you'd get a little adapter box like this. And what it's going to have inside is the water chamber lid and then some instructions. Obviously, follow along with these. These are going to give you great details. I'm going to perform that here, so I'm just going to set that to the side. So first thing we're going to do is I'm actually just going to make sure that my machine is off and unplugged. That's always important, especially when you're handling a chamber, just because that is a heated component and you may or may not have water in there. And then I'm actually going to go about just easily sliding that out. Cool, right? So this is your standard lid. You just lift up from the side. There's a nice little arrow there. And that's it. You fill it with water. Awesome. Pop it in. You're good to go. But now you have this awesome machine. So you want to know how to connect it. Not too bad either. So this lid actually slides right off. Do it really gently, but you can just kind of pull from either the left or the right hand side and make that adjustment there. And then an important piece is you're going to want to take this lid gasket out. So I'm just going to set this aside. And now, see you later, regular lid. We are going to go for the lid adapter. Another key reason we're making this video is you'll see that this adapter looks a little bit different than the picture you might have seen on our website. That's because Better Rest Solutions, the makers of SoClean, actually made some really great adjustments to this lid. It's just a little bit easier to connect, but you're gonna see on the website picture, which hopefully will adjust soon, that there's an extra piece of black tubing that comes out in a little connector. They don't make that anymore. This is what you're gonna get, so don't worry. If the picture you see and what you get in the box doesn't look exactly the same, nothing to be alarmed about. I'm gonna make sure you know how to use it appropriately. So now I'm gonna take my lid gasket, as I like to refer to it. May very well be its technical name as well. Just gonna make sure that's sitting in there. It's just really a light push and you're good to go. Now I can place it back on my water chamber. Again, just a nice easy little slide. And that was pretty painless, right? So the lid adapter's on there. And it doesn't get too much trickier than that, except for you got your SoClean and it has this tubing attached and this guy. That's not gonna connect here. This is great. This is going to come into play later with our video, but for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the circular, they call this the connection valve, and this length of tubing, that's going to go off to the side as well. Do not throw that away. You may need it in the future, but we don't need it right now, because this piece here now goes from the back of the SoClean. We have the check valve assembly. That's an item that you'll want to do some maintenance on. I think it's about every 6 months. And then this piece of black tubing just goes right on the top of that lid. Easy peasy, a lemon squeezy. So what does that mean? It means you're pretty much 90% of the way there. You're gonna go ahead and slide that back into your machine. And now, other than adjusting some of the settings with time, now we have another video for how to get this properly set, you're good to go. So in a scenario where you have an AirSense 10, AirCurve 10, any of those 10 machines that have a water chamber and you are using that humidifier, you're good to go. So you don't, like with other machines you might connect the SoClean to, connect it to the tubing, and that's where a lot of people get confused. So whether you're using heated tubing or regular tubing, if you've got that humidifier chamber, whether you even turn it on or not, this is how you make sure this machine works with the SoClean 2. All right, now we're gonna move on to how to use this device if you're not using your water chamber. Great, we've got our SoClean all connected, it's ready to go. Later on, when you're done with the mask and you're ready to go and your machine's all set, you're gonna go ahead and open this chamber, put the mask inside. Again, doesn't matter which side you're on. If it's easier for you to have the SoClean over here, which I would say it probably would be, go for it. Move the hose slot plug, you're good to go. But what if you're not using your humidifier? So very interesting, to connect with the 10 series machines, SoClean's been very specific. Water chamber lid, that's it. There's no heated tubing adapter. So what if you're in a situation where you're not using the humidifier? Technically speaking, you should still be able to use this SoClean machine, so I'm gonna show you how. What we're gonna do here is I'm actually gonna disconnect what I did in my previous sequence. So But you might get in scenarios where you're actually not using this piece at all. What happens now? So there are accessories available for your machine, including what is called a side cover. So this is what a side cover would look like if you were to get that with your machine. Now, maybe that's a great travel solution for you, right? You don't take the water chamber. Cool. So that goes on the side of your machine. Oh, let's see if I can get this right. Ta-da! All right, a little bit more compact. Excellent. But that means that I actually do not have a way to connect this SoClean. Remember earlier when I told you you're gonna wanna hang on to this? This is a great example of why. So we're gonna go back to square one. We've got our SoClean, this is how it came out of the box, excellent. If you are using heated tubing, unfortunately, you cannot make adjustments to make the SoClean work because how these devices are set up, this special heated tubing, for some of the other machines, you may see adapters that are tubing adapters. And this is why, because they have that special component to then heat the rest of it. But that means that on the back of your machine, it actually is not gonna be compatible to reconnect this heated tubing if you don't have a special adapter. But the regular adapter that comes with would actually work with this machine if you're using standard tubing. So I have some standard tubing over here. So let's talk about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the tubing from my mask. Mask goes here. Heated tubing, you've been great, but I'm gonna go ahead and set you aside. And what if you're using just some standard tubing? So right here, I just have some of our generic CPAP tubing. So your regular setup might look something like this, where you've got your tubing on the back here. It's connected to your mask. So how do we modify a situation like this to work with the SoClean? Well, it's easier than you might think. So this standard connection valve that comes with, very important, you're gonna wanna remove this extended piece of tubing. This is useful in some machines where the water chamber is actually inside of a reservoir there. We don't need that in this scenario because we know we're not using that, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece aside now. This actually can adapt on the side here. Goes in the back, and now, look at that, we have a standard connection. It's just a little bit longer, but now we've made a modification where we actually have an opportunity for this activated oxygen that you're getting from this machine to enter into this scenario. So what's interesting is that you're not cleaning this machine, okay? All you're doing is you're injecting that oxygen into our tubing here, into your mask, and when you open this up and have the mask inside here for cleaning, bear with me for a second. You're still making that direct connection, so you're getting that cleaning on the internal components. So again, you're not gonna see that anywhere on any of the websites, but technically speaking, yes, this is how you can still clean your CPAP tubing and your mask if you're using an AirSense 10, but only if you're not using that heated tubing. If you're using heated tubing, unfortunately, if you're not using that water chamber, there's no way to connect it to the SoClean 2. If any changes happen with that, we'll be sure to let you know. Hopefully this has been helpful, guys. Enjoy.